Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Expert Speak, organized by Asian Institute of Diplomacy and International Affairs, AIDIA. I'm Shristi Kafle, your host for this episode. In Expert Speak, we present you the fresh analysis, views, and opinion of any expert on any particular issue related to foreign affairs. Today, our topic is high level visits from China and India in Nepal, examining the way ahead. As we know, Nepal welcomed Indian Foreign Secretary Mr. Harshvardhan Sringala at the end of November. And just a day after Indian Foreign Secretary's return, Nepal welcomed the Chinese Defense Minister Wei Fenghe. So prior to this, there were also visits from the Indian side, including Samant Kumar Goyal, Chief of the Research and Analysis Wing, India's Foreign Intelligence Service. Similarly, Nepal hosted Indian Army Chief General. So today's expert speak will focus on latest visits from China and India and try to analyze the changing dynamics in the Nepal-India and Nepal-China bilateral relations. So today we have Mr. Bhaskar Koirala, Director at Nepal Institute of International and Strategic Studies. Sir, welcome to the Expert Speak.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Nepal recently hosted the high-level visits from both the neighboring countries, India and China. And many have termed these visits as very positive that have yielded towards strengthening the bilateral relations. So let's start from the Indian side. Do you think that the high-level visits from India have opened up a new door to have dialogue on the bilateral issues? What's your view on this?
Yes, high-level visits themselves are very important, fundamental in the bilateral relationship between any two countries. Um, the, uh, the, the, the interactions that are afforded at the highest level between officials, policymakers, this in itself is really very important. It is fundamental. It is a sort of it is a part and parcel of the bilateral machinery, and it needs to be it needs to be kept active. It needs to be well greased. There should be a regularity in such high-level interactions. So in that respect, I think that the string of high-level visits that took place recently, starting with the October 22nd visit by the chief of the Indian External Intelligence Agency, Mr. Samant Goyal, followed by very soon after November 5th by the chief of the Indian Army, General Naravane. And then a short time thereafter, on November 26th, by the Indian Foreign Secretary. These, I believe, have opened up the door for dialogue between the two countries. These three visits represent perhaps three distinct streams of Indian officialdom. Let's say the intelligence arm, the military, and the political or bureaucratic streams. They are distinct, but they are all joined at the hip, and they form an integrated whole as far as statecraft is concerned. So your question in terms of has this opened up the doors for dialogue? I think it definitely has, and I don't think it is just a sort of a political move to normalize the relationship, or or to stem this, the notion of this increasing anti-Indian sentiment in Nepal. I think it is a real effort to solve the bilateral issues.
All right, because there are so many speculations, there are so many doubts regarding those visits, and while talking about the takeaways, so many have termed like maybe this is just a political move or the diplomatic move to normalize the situation. Thank you for clearing out. And as we know, like Nepal and India have many issues like border issues, commerce and trade issues, investment issues, and Nepal has been requesting for the dialogue on these issues, particularly on border disputes, which India has been ignoring since long time, let's say since a year. But suddenly India seems in the move to mend its ties with Nepal. So in your views, what made the Indian government to come forward and take this step in mending the ties with Nepal all of a sudden?
Mhm.
What triggered it?
Yes, you're right. There are a plethora of various issues that feature in the Indo-Nepal relationship. I don't think it is correct to suggest that India has been or would ignore requests coming from Nepal to engage in dialogue related to the multitude of issues you have just mentioned, including the border issue. Yes, the border issue has been particularly nettlesome, and it aroused, sort of this nationalist sentiments on both sides. And, nationalism itself is becoming more pronounced around the world, not just in India and Nepal, but around the world. We see the rise of, nationalism, people being very sensitive about this issue. Um, it really is no surprise that tackling, for instance, the or resolving the border dispute would therefore be especially challenging. The question really boils down to the fact that Nepal is perhaps one of the most important relationships for India. Why? Why is that the case? We mustn't forget the geography. Nepal borders India's most populous states. Uttar Pradesh has a population of some 200 million people. Bihar has a population of 104. I think it's ranked the third most populous state in India. And West Bengal has a population of 91 million approximately. So, Nepal is, not to mention Uttarakhand, I think they have a population of about 10 million people. So Nepal is bordering all of these states. There is no doubt that India would accord a high level of priority to the relationship with Nepal, and I don't think that there is any question about India ignoring Nepal. Now, why this particular moment? I wouldn't look at it in this particular moment. I would just say that in general terms, just because of what I have described, Nepal is a priority for India, and maybe because of some recent tensions triggered by the border issue, that may have created some tension in the some distance between the two countries. But because of our geography, this has been, quickly, kind of rectified in the sense that these visits have resumed, and I believe that the dialogue would also be, forthcoming in the days ahead.
Mm. To add on the same issue, I'd like to ask, like, how should these two countries should move forward to resolve this border dispute, in your opinion?
This is a really it's a technical issue. I have always thought that this is a technical issue, and it requires a form of quiet diplomacy, really at the bureaucratic level. And I think that it is counterproductive for at on the political side to exaggerate the issue or politicize the issue. And I think that also there's some challenges that we face in terms of the sort of role that the media plays. Because the media is very important, but media also makes governing extremely challenging because there are all kinds of news that comes in the media, and that
Right,
sometimes makes it especially challenging for policymakers to contain this sort of uh, um, what I mentioned earlier about the nationalist sentiments and so on. So it's really very important to focus in on the technical side of the border dispute that is there between the two countries. I think there is no other way but to focus on the technical aspect.
exactly. So, right after the visit of Indian Foreign Secretary in Nepal, Nepal also welcomed the Chinese Defense Minister General Wei Fenghe. So, how do you see this event? Is Nepal trying to balance the equation between the two neighbors?
I think that we need to be mindful of the mechanics of foreign policy and diplomacy. High-level visits do not necessarily take place as countermeasures, right, against other visits that have taken place recently and so on. High-level visits require a significant amount of lead time to plan and to execute. Uh, Only in really extraordinary circumstances or crisis situations do these high-level visits take place on a short-term notice. So I don't think that in this case we can analyze the situation as being, driven by some sort of a, crisis. General Wei Fenghe's visit was a reciprocal visit following the visit of the Nepalese defense minister to China last year in October.
Mm,
Um,
mm,
so uh, I think it would be easier in historical retrospect to draw more accurate assessments, draw accurate conclusions as to what these various high-level visits to Nepal uh, have meant for Nepal and the region. But I think that it's too early to draw any definitive conclusions, and I certainly do not think that um, the timing appeared to be such that
coincident.
yes, there seemed to be but that was probably simply the a matter of timing and so on. And as I mentioned earlier, really putting together these high-level visits is really not. It really comes down to nuts and bolts issues of whether the dates work out or not between the officials, and so I think it's not appropriate to analyze this in terms of a a countermeasure that Nepal took by inviting the Chinese defense minister right after the string of visits from high-level visits from India. This was I mean, this was in the pipeline. This had been planned for a number of months.
Mm. Thank you for clearing this out. Uh, as we know that there is a rift ongoing within the ruling Nepal Communist Party, and there are often issues of Chinese interference that we read in media most of the times. So his visit also comes amid this ongoing rift. So how do you see it? Is it just a coincidence,
Well, as I
or
mentioned,
is there any connection?
yes, as I mentioned earlier, this is a reciprocal visit after the Nepalese defense minister visited uh, China last year, and as you will recall, the then Nepalese defense minister, he visited China shortly after the visit to Nepal by President Xi Jinping. At the time, Defense Minister Ishwar Pokhrel, he visited China, and the two sides signed an agreement for a 150 million RMB package as a military aid to the Nepal army. This was in the context of the two countries elevating their ties from comprehensive partnership of cooperation to strategic partnership of cooperation. And you will also recall that when General Wei Fenghe, he arrived in Kathmandu at the airport, he made the remarks that his visit was aimed at implementing these bilateral understandings reached between the two governments in the past. So while this currently there are some the fissures, open fissures in the ruling Nepal Communist Party, I don't believe that that General Wei Fenghe's visit here was directly related to that. Certainly, that probably did feature, that issue did feature probably, I don't know, but I can guess that it did feature in you know the visit of the general, and that was probably a concern for the Chinese side to the extent that now as I just explained, there was these agreements that were signed between the two countries. So we can very reasonably assume that China is interested in political stability in Nepal. So if there is within a short span of time between last year and now, if there is a massive you know division in the party with which China has been engaged to move forward these kinds of important agreements, then naturally China would be concerned about that, and that would feature in their calculus, in their you know, in the way in which they would deal with the situation in Nepal.
Mm. Traditionally, as we know, Nepal had India as the major defense partner, but in the recent times, China has emerged as another major defense partner. So, do you think Nepal can go on hand in hand with both the countries?
I would a little bit zoom out from your question and try to, you know, understand this in a broader perspective, perhaps. So the overall way in which the dynamics of global politics the distribution of power, especially in Asia, how that is changing, and how Asia itself is becoming more important in the region and in the world. Um, uh, and given that Nepal is situated in Asia, in the heart of Asia, I think this necessitates a degree of regular contact between the militaries of Nepal with the military, I mean, the Nepalese military with, of course, with the Indian military, also with the Chinese military, and others too, as a matter of fact. Um, uh, because, the military institutions, they are really better able to imbibe historical experience. And they are, militaries are acutely aware of many overlapping trends, right? Social, political, economic, that adversely impact security. Security considerations, they extend beyond borders now. It's not like in the past, as because of the technological developments and so on. So the security considerations, they are, really, they're not limited to one's own geography. They extend beyond the borders. And I think that, therefore, for the sake of maintaining regional peace and security, it is very important for Nepal to maintain this sort of regular sort of contact with the engagements and contact with the militaries from the two sides. And the Nepal Army is one of the oldest militaries in Asia, and Nepal occupies a middle ground in Asia, equidistant to Central Asia or West Asia on the one hand, and then with Southeast Asia on the other. And we are, in between China and India, two of the largest countries in the world in terms of population, each with rising aspirations. And we can expect turbulence in the Asian regional environment in the years ahead, on account of many different factors, climate change, and the need to deal effectively with natural disasters. And there's also growing income inequities in the region, fundamentalism and threat posed by non-state actors, and so on and so forth. So it's important for Nepal to really remain engaged on the military side with our neighbors, in order to preempt challenges, in order to and then to tackle those challenges as they emerge. I think that it is possible for Nepal to go hand in hand with both countries in this regard. Of course, there are some sensitivities, but that is for Nepal to handle properly, and to handle in a mature way, so that the, so that any sort of suspicions are allayed, or
Yeah, so hope these engagements and visits strengthen the military cooperation between Nepal and the neighbors. Uh, we have almost come to an end of this discussion. Many experts and commentators have been implying that visits from both these countries, India and China, were quite positive and fruitful. So, do you agree with that? And next is, in your view, how Nepal can take a benefit or make its role more effective on shaping the ties from this particular development?
I agree with you that there's slew of visits from both countries. They have been positive. They have been fruitful, but it requires follow up, and it requires still a lot of the mechanics have to be worked out. I would say that really we are in a very interesting period because after the industrial revolution of the 18th century, political power, economic power shifted away from Asia to Europe. Before that, the economies, the societies in Asia, very prosperous. We are now experiencing a resurgence of Asia, and we are going back to the pre-industrial revolution period, and we can expect, the economies of the region, as we've already seen, uh, um, develop, gallop, in fact. So I think that it's really important for Nepal to focus on its domestic politics, to focus on development, to focus on the creation of employment, to focus on infrastructure. Broad development issues should really be at the core of our foreign policy in order for Nepal to seek to derive benefits from China and from India, and to also play an effective role in this region for the sake of regional peace, stability, and development. Because the foreign policy of a country is really a reflection of its core domestic politics. So I think that Nepal really must focus, look inwards, and focus on the many development challenges that we face. And I think if we're able to do that, that would be the single most important way in which we can, contribute to this resurgence that we are seeing across Asia, especially as it concerns China and India.
Definitely. Nepal should focus on its own domestic politics and environment first so that it could contribute to the peace and stability in the region. And we just can hope that Nepal, or let's say Kathmandu, could be a viable bridge between New Delhi and Beijing. So, hopefully.
Yes,
Thank you so much for sharing your insights. I would like to add one more question that we received in Twitter actually,
yes,
and the question is quite interesting.
yes.
Just a day after Chinese Defense Minister paid a visit to Nepal, our Prime Minister only made an entry on TikTok. Is it just a coincidence or it carries some diplomatic meaning?
Mhm.
So the question was in Twitter. So do you like to share your views?
Um, yes, TikTok is a very, although I have never used it myself, TikTok is, as I understand, it is very famous in China and in other countries as well.
Yes.
So it could be an effort by the Nepalese Prime Minister to reach out the people to people level, the reach the masses in China, so that the citizens of China can have a direct kind of a connection with the Prime Minister. So this may be an effort to enhance the people-to-people, let's say, in a sense, the people-to-people relationship, people-to-people understanding. I would take it in that sense.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Koirala, for sharing your insights, views, and analysis. Thank you once again. Today in the expert talk, we had Mr. Bhaskar Koirala, Director at Nepal Institute of International and Strategic Studies. We will come again with the next episode. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you.